When I was a junior in high school, I ran for vice president of the student council. I will never forget creating flyers, hanging them up on every inch of the high school, just the excitement and anticipation of it all. And then when voting day finally came, I walked into the gym, got my ballot, and I voted for Sean Murphy for vice president of student council. That's right, after putting all that work in, I didn't even vote for myself. And I can't tell you exactly what was going through my mind at the time, but I do know that I believed he deserved it more than me, that he would do a better job, that I was not worthy of the thing I really wanted. Now, I'm guessing that exact scenario didn't happen to you, but I think this is something that almost every human on the planet has experienced. You want a thing, you decide to go for that thing, but on some level you feel like you don't deserve it. And then it just becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. You take some kind of action or stay in inaction, you don't take any action to prove to yourself that you're not worthy, that you're not good enough, that you won't be able to handle it, that you don't deserve it, no matter how bad you want it. And sometimes even how much logical sense it makes that you should have that thing. And in my experience, this is what self-sabotage really is. We want something, but deep down, usually unconscious and pretty deep-rooted, is the belief that we are not worthy of the things we say we want. What I did back then was a pretty blatant act of self-sabotage, but a lot of times it's much more subtle, like saying yes when we want to say no, staying up too late to watch another episode, staying in the relationship or the job when we know it's not healthy for us, not asking for help when we know we need it, something that I am often guilty of, really just not doing the things we know we should do to get the things that we want in life. And we often think of self-sabotage as a bad thing. It's something that we need to overcome or stop doing or fix, but it's this resistance that almost just perpetuates the problem. So that's what I'm hoping to do in the rest of this video, is really just give you a different perspective of what I've come to understand about self-sabotage and what it really is, and what I've personally done to shift this in my own life so that hopefully it helps you to do the same. The first thing we need to do is stop using the words self-sabotage. I'm a big believer that the words we use are incredibly powerful and important, both the words that we say when we're thinking and talking to ourselves, and also the words that we speak out loud. And one of the most important things I ever did was change the way I thought about self-sabotage and change the way I spoke to myself about it. I've done this with many things in my life. I stopped using the word broke to change my financial situation. I stopped referring to myself as forever single, which is something I used to always joke about. I was the single friend, the single sister. At this point in my life, you will never hear me say that I am self-sabotaging. I'm using it here in this video because these are the words that most people use to describe this problem or these behaviors, and I want people to be able to find this video and hopefully it will help them. But this isn't something I ever say to myself now. Back in the day, this was constantly running in the back of my mind though. Why am I self-sabotaging? Why are you always sabotaging yourself? I would even say that I identified as a self-sabotager, like it was a part of my personality. It was just who I was, which really just perpetuated the cycle of low self-worth and low self-esteem. And the definition of sabotage is deliberately destroying something. So self-sabotage implies that you are intentionally doing harm to yourself, which is actually the opposite of what you're doing. What I've come to really understand is that self-sabotage is self-protection. When you self-sabotage, you're really just protecting yourself from something that feels unsafe to your brain and your body and your nervous system. And while this is really frustrating when we want some results in the physical world and our internal world says, no, 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 this isn't necessarily a bad thing. These self-sabotaging behaviors are simply coping mechanisms and adaptations that we have developed, likely when we were very young, as a way to protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe. Our minds are wired to avoid discomfort and uncertainty. And sometimes that means settling for less than we deserve, no matter how much we think we want that thing. We will inevitably end up not doing the things we know we should do, or sometimes doing the exact opposite and never getting what we want. But the whole energy around these self-sabotaging behaviors completely changes when we stop seeing it as the enemy and acknowledge that this is a defense mechanism instead of a personal failure or major flaw that needs to be fixed. So the first thing to do to get out of that cycle of self-sabotage and then beating yourself up because you didn't do the thing and then trying again and then self-sabotage is to stop calling it self-sabotage. Everything changed when I removed self-sabotage from my vocabulary and replaced it with self-protection. You're not self-sabotaging, you're self-protecting. You can try that shift right now and just share in the comments what you notice about how it feels in your body and how it feels energetically. The shift is pretty immediate. 2 books I definitely recommend checking out on this topic: What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, and also Your Body Believes Every Word You Say. Now that we have the awareness that these are self-protective behaviors and we're not self-sabotaging, this is when we want to start getting curious. First, everything changes when we replace self-sabotage with self-protection. What that really did for me was it gave me permission to stop beating myself up and blaming myself for these behaviors, and I could start getting curious about them instead. So instead of what the fuck is wrong with me? Why do I always sabotage myself and ruin everything? Why can't I get this right? And all the awful, terrible things I used to constantly be saying to myself in a blaming, shaming type of way, it shifted into curiosity. That sounds like, that's interesting. I said I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I broke my phone and still haven't gotten it fixed. I wonder what that's about. That's really interesting. I said I wanted a serious relationship, but I just responded to that fuckboy again. I wonder what that's all about. Or, that's really interesting. I said I wanted to lose weight, but I stayed up late scrolling and missed my hike this morning. I wonder what that's about. As you can see, this works in any area of your life. And when I started just getting curious, it opened up so much more space for one, just more self-compassion and kindness, which makes everything easier and makes life so much better. But it also allows you to take a step back and become more of an observer of what's happening, more of an observer of your actions. So instead of these automatic reactions where you feel like stuck in the middle of your life with no power and no way out, you can just start to gain a deeper awareness of your patterns and your behaviors. Once you start getting curious and start asking questions like, I wonder what that's all about, you will start to get answers to that question. They might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but this is exactly what we want. Maybe it's memories from childhood, or you just start noticing a pattern of behavior, or maybe you notice it's a trigger for a behavior, or you start to connect some dots from one thing to another, which leads you to digging deeper into a specific topic. When I was getting curious about why I was struggling so much in romantic relationships, I started noticing a lot of patterns in this area of my life. I started watching YouTube videos on relationships, which led me to working with a coach, which led me to learning about attachment styles, which led me to inner child work, which led me to trauma and somatics, and so on and so on. And somewhere in there, the behaviors start to shift, and I started to make different decisions and stop texting those people back. And I saw situations differently and was able to meet the love of my life. So this is where the heavy lifting comes in. If you came to this video looking for a quick fix or simple affirmation to use to fix your life, I'm very sorry. If this is something you really want to shift permanently, it's going to take some work. It requires us to get a little uncomfortable and be really honest with ourselves and go deeper and deeper to really uncover the root causes of not feeling like we deserve the things that we really want. And then we have to actually do the work to heal so that we can experience something different. That's going to look different for everyone. It could be journaling, finding a therapist or a coach to work with. reading books, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, doing somatic work, inner child work, shadow work, meditation, breath work, whatever works best for you, or in my case, all of it. And then once you find those things that do work for you, the last thing to do is just practice. This doesn't happen overnight. I'm not even saying that once you do these things, you'll never have to deal with self-sabotage or these self-protective behaviors ever again. For most people, me included, this is going to be something we practice for the rest of our lives because there's always going to be a new challenge, a deeper layer, the next step to take. But if you keep practicing and keep doing the work and keep peeling back the layers, you will get to a point where you realize that you really do deserve the things that you want, that you are worthy of anything you desire, and your actions will start to prove it, and it won't feel so hard to do the things you need to do to lose the weight or start the business or start the YouTube channel or find the love of your life. It gets easier because you'll be able to recognize when these self-protection behaviors come up, and you can just jump right into the curiosity and start to shift things instead of getting stuck in that self-sabotage loop. Now, in case you've been wondering this whole entire video, no, I did not win the student council election. We will never know if it was by one vote or many votes. And I just have so much love and compassion for that 17-year-old Katie. And I'm just so grateful for the journey that I have been on since then and continue to be on. And that really is my hope for you as well, that this video will help you to realize that you do deserve to have whatever you want, and that if you identify as a self-sabotager, it is totally possible to experience something different and create anything that you want. And you will be able to look back on all those times you self-protected, and you will be filled with compassion for that version of yourself and filled with gratitude for all the work you've done and for the person that you have become. I hope this was helpful. Please like the video and subscribe if you found it helpful, because it really helps other people just like you to find the video as well who might need to see this. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.